Hey, what's up guys, it's Carlos. Now, budget phones are a thing. They're becoming really popular because of their low price and crazy specs. And Alcatel just released this baby, the OneTouch Idol 3, a crazy ultra power phone for 250 bucks. It's pretty crazy at that price point. So the overall build of this phone is entirely plastic. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad thing at all. This is the type of phone that makes plastic feel really premium. It really looks really darn good, and it has a brushed aluminum design texture on the back with some sexy font that says Idol on the back. There's also a chrome band that wraps all around the phone, and it hasn't picked up no scratches at all for me. The power button is located on the oddest position, the left hand side, which after using this phone for about a month, I still haven't got used to it. I still end up hitting the volume button that is on the right hand side, and then I remember it's on the left hand side, so I quickly hit the power button and I end up taking a lot of screenshots because of this. The workaround to this is you can activate the double tap feature to turn on the display, but that takes it a while for it to turn on the display, so I don't use that at all. There's also a micro USB port on the bottom, and below the power button is a tray where you put your SIM card and a micro SD card for expanded storage up to 128 gigabytes. There's also a notification light on the Idol 3 in the front on the upper right hand corner, another useful feature that I didn't expect on this budget phone. So remember I said this is a crazy ultra power phone? Well, it's packing a 5.5 inch display with a 1080p resolution, a quad core CPU clocked at 1.5 GHz, 2 GB of RAM, and an internal storage with 16 GB that is expandable via a microSD card to 128 GB. If I remember correctly, I couldn't even get a phone like this back then, and most budget phones will have terrible specs. Not to mention they will be terribly slow, and they will be running on an outdated version of Android. With these specs, the Idol 3 is a mini beast, crushing through apps and the games. Every now and then there is a small hiccup on it when multitasking or exiting out an app. The struggles of a budget phone, right? The display is another selling point on this phone. It's very bright and vivid, but one thing I was shocked on was how well you can see it outside. Most flagship devices struggle with this, and for me it's a huge plus since I spend most of my time outside. Now, onto the software of this phone. It's rocking on Android 5.0.2 Lollipop with a minimal skin. It's basically running stock Android with just an icon pack theme that reminds me a bit of MIUI icons. It runs really smooth for the most part. It's just that slight hiccup that I mentioned that gets in the way, but after clearing a couple apps, it seems to help it on that part. And one other thing I noticed on the Idol 3 were the animations were a bit too slow, so I went into the developer settings to speed them up. After doing this, it makes the phone feel a lot faster. Now you probably noticed this, but this doesn't have a speaker on the rear or bottom of the phone. That's because it's packing two dual front facing speakers. Yes, another phone that packs this awesome hardware. Wait, let me rephrase that. A budget phone that has front-facing speakers, which sound really good and are quite loud. It uses a JBL equalizer to give the speakers a better sound. It's good for the most part and it does its job, but I love the fact that this budget phone has front-facing speakers. It's the perfect way to immerse yourself in the content you're watching. Now, another perfect thing on this budget device is the battery. I don't know if it's some kind of witchery that Alcatel is doing, but battery life is incredible. The best I ever used on a phone. I was able to get around 15 to 16 hours of usage with this on my regular usage of watching YouTube videos, replying back to emails, checking social networks, and not to mention I also got 5 hours of on-screen time. Whew, this thing is just a beast at that. Putting a 2950 mAh battery on this phone was a smart move on Alcatel. Now the camera on the Idol 3 is actually quite good. It's a 13 megapixel camera, and this front facing camera is an 8 megapixel shooter. Now I wasn't expecting this at all from this phone, but daylight pictures seem to be very good, and it can focus very close to the subject, but the most difficult part of the camera is that it struggles a lot to get the exposure right. Every now and then it will nail it, but sometimes it will overexpose or underexpose an image, and for low light, don't use it. It's really not that good. There's a bunch of noise on the pictures it took, and it struggled a lot to focus. The front-facing camera is decent for what it offers, and posting selfies on Facebook and Snapchat should just be fine. For video, it's okay. It's good for its price. Don't expect 4K video with optical image stabilization on it, and you can pretty much just pass this off as a nice phone to shoot Snapchat videos or just upload to Instagram. Now I'm really impressed with this phone. I'm loving the price tag on it even better. This is a phone that is really targeted at the baller on a budget or a broke college student eating ramen noodles in his dorm wishing to have high-end specs on a phone. I wish this phone was out when I was in high school. It would have been a beast for me, and I probably would have used it until it broke or some other tragedy happened. Anyways, I'll have links down below if you decide to pick up this little beast of a phone. And super huge shout out to Alcatel for hooking me up with a review unit of this phone. Make sure to follow them on Twitter, and you can also follow me on Twitter at MobileCarlos and any other social networks, which is pretty much MobileCarlos. I hope you guys enjoyed this review of the Alcatel Idol 3. Make sure to smack that like button if you did, and subscribe for more content. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.